Dave Hyde from the Sun Sentinel says that the Miami Dolphins would be foolish to pay Tua a huge contract. He says that the Dolphins can't pay Tua Tagovailoa like a franchise quarterback until he actually is a franchise quarterback. Let's jump in and talk about this.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
In case you don't know who Dave Hyde is, he is an award-winning sports journalist for the Sun Sentinel down here in South Florida, and he's been with them for over 30 years. He has covered the Miami Dolphins and other South Florida sports for 3 decades. In other words, he's got some street cred behind his name. He recently penned an article about Tua Tagovailoa that was quite compelling. In the article, he says that the smartest move that the Miami Dolphins can make right now is to not give Tua Tagovailoa one of those guaranteed mega contracts that franchise quarterbacks are getting until he is a franchise quarterback. They instead should offer him half the going $50 million rate in a way that helps the team's salary cap in the short term. Maybe they get talked into $28 million. That'd be nice. Even then, the structure of the deal has to be favorable to the Miami Dolphins so they can get an exit ramp in a couple years if he doesn't materialize as a franchise quarterback. Beyond the general idea of adding some grit to this offense, what to do with Tua is a first order of business this offseason because so many other financial decisions have to be made. He makes a guaranteed $23.2 million next season because the team picked up his 5th-year option last winter. The question that remains is if they let that contract play out or extend it. I myself ran a quick poll to find out from my YouTube subscribers what they think about giving Tua a big extension. Nearly 5,000 of you voted, and only 13% said to give Tua the big bag, that big $50 million a year contract. 65% of you said Tua needs to play on his 5th-year option and prove that he's worth the money. And 22% of you said cut bait, run, and get rid and trade Tua if you possibly can. That absolutely shocked me. I mean, absolutely shocked me. Me personally, I'm going with that group of 65% who said this year Tua needs to play on that 5th-year option and prove to everybody that he can be and he is that franchise quarterback. And I just can't even fathom that 22% of you said trade him now. This is the article that Dave Hyde put up on the Sun Sentinel. As I said, the title of it is "The Dolphins Can't Pay Tua Tagovailoa Like a Franchise Quarterback Until He Becomes One." So obviously, Dave Hyde, like many of us, don't feel that Tua right now is a franchise quarterback. So I've highlighted a few paragraphs. Let's go over it. General Manager Chris Grier and Coach Mike McDaniel have been sunny side up about everything about Tua for the past couple of years. Ain't that the truth? That served a purpose after he was beat up his first 2 seasons. But they need to protect the franchise first, the team, by not mortgaging the future on Tua when no one's sure who he is even after 4 years. Chris Grier recently said in a press conference that the goal is to have him long-term playing at a high level, but any contract discussion would remain private. Okay. He should privately say Tua needs to take another big mother may I step forward before even getting a big contract. He should privately say the quarterback needs to be better against good teams. He should privately say, don't be surprised if we take a quarterback with the first pick if the opportunity is there. Yes, that's how you protect a franchise. Dave Hyde is 100% correct. Let's continue. The Dolphins gave Tua the keys to the kingdom the past 2 years and have nothing to show for it. Yeah, a lot of stats, no playoff wins, but some big statistics and fun moments against bad teams. Against good teams, Tua hasn't done much. Absolutely true. Undeniable. When the season was on the line, he didn't help to save it. I don't care what level of Tuanon you are, that's 100% true. Let's continue. If you're looking for a franchise quarterback in these past 3 Dolphins games, he's talking about the 3 games that the Dolphins lost at the end of the season, he was on the other side, not on the Miami Dolphins side. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes showed you what kind of quarterback a franchise quarterback looks like. Did Tua resemble any of those players? Nope. But it doesn't mean that he can't, and that's what the fifth-year option would allow him to do. It doesn't mean that his team should be done with him. It means that there are some questions about his ceiling after the manner in which this fourth season played out. Again, 100% true. Let's continue. That means the Dolphins can't give him a contract that marries them for the next several years. We're not at that point after his first 4 years. There's this nagging question in just writing that timeline. If you don't know by now, do you really know? When will you know? How will you know? Are the Dolphins going to Ryan Tannehill this by going to another 6th and 7th year rebuild, saying he does a lot of good things? Against opponents with losing records, and you all know this, the Dolphins were 10-1 as Tua threw 22 touchdowns against 8 interceptions with a whopping 110.7 quarterback rating. Against opponents with winning records, they were 1-6 as Tua threw 8 touchdowns against 7 interceptions with an 80.8 rating. Big difference. Is it him? Is it the offense? Is it like the Florida Panthers when they had the best regular season team with a high-flying offense a couple years ago that went bust in the playoffs? Yep, that's what it's like. The Panthers realized that style doesn't win tough, gritty games. They made fundamental changes. Now understand, the Dolphins are not making or have not as of yet shown these so-called fundamental changes. What do I mean by that? You see the Philadelphia Eagles moving very quickly to solidify what they're going to be doing next year. Obviously, they didn't like how the season turned out, so what'd they do? They went out and took Vic Fangio from the Miami Dolphins, and they went out and got Kellen Moore to be their offensive coordinator. Immediate, quick changes. Dolphins haven't done anything. Not anything. Let's get back to the article. Besides winning, McDaniel had one primary job taking over the Dolphins 2 years ago. Figure out what he had in Tua. He did that. The coach then refined the offense last season around the quarterback's, quote, superpowers, which McDaniel said, as quarterback coach Darrell Bevell also called them: accuracy, timing, anticipation, vision. Okay, that quick throw offense, and understand this is a big one to me. Everyone keeps saying that Tua only had 2.5 seconds to throw. That's not true. The offense was designed for him to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds. That's all they asked of the offensive line. Give him 2.5 seconds, the ball will be out. That was the design of the offense. People blaming the offensive line, saying he only had 2.5 seconds to throw. You're lying to yourself. This offense was designed for him to get rid of the ball in 2.5 seconds. Let's continue. That quick throw offense also hit to his super problems of a lack of size, arm strength, mobility, and the ability to create a play out of chaos when the planned play fails or falls apart. Good defenses sniffed out those problems. They took away the horizontal passes like receiver screens, quick strikes over the middle, and outside runs that are central to making the Miami Dolphins offense look like a track team. Just completely took it away from Mike McDaniel and this offense. Like Kansas City, defenses often played 2 safeties deep against the Dolphins in a manner that frustrated receiver Tyreek Hill. He looked really ordinary at times. The Dolphins didn't have a tough running game to take advantage of that. Tua was asked to beat it, and he couldn't against teams down the stretch. The bitter cold in Kansas City didn't help, but it also wasn't the cause of them losing to the Kansas City Chiefs. But the Dolphins play in a division filled with cold weather teams, so they better get used to it. They should be used to it by now. Ask yourself, now this is a big question. Ask yourself, if Tua hit the open market right now, does any other team pay him $50 million a year? That's a resounding hell no. Nobody else besides Chris Greer would give Tua Tagovailoa $50 million a year. Ain't gonna happen. So the Dolphins would be bidding against themselves, exactly, which is something bad organizations do given the importance of the quarterback position and salary cap implications on the larger roster. The New York Giants did that in giving Daniel Jones $45 million. Do the Dolphins really want to repeat that kind of mistake? Seems like Chris Greer has no problem with it. It seems like some fans just give him the money. It's insane. If you give the big contract like Mahomes, Allen, and Jones got, the quarterback has to lift the entire offense to succeed. Tua cannot put this team on his back. He's already shown that. He has to play with lesser or younger talent around him. Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill. Allen has first and second-year playmakers around him. Are the Dolphins there? Take away Tyreek? Well, what do you have? What do you have at that point? Be smart, like a smart franchise. The Baltimore Ravens did pay Jackson at first. They didn't like the price and wanted to see more from him. Maybe it cost them when the contract was drawn up, but look who they spent it on. A two-time NFL Most Valuable Player who led the league, the #1 seed this year. Obviously, a good investment. Not just a paycheck, an investment. You see young quarterbacks getting defined with the season on the line. Houston's CJ Stroud and Green Bay's Jordan Love made plays you expect from franchise quarterbacks. Dallas's Dak Prescott didn't, and he's all the way in his 8th season. Tua didn't either. Down a defining stretch of this season as the Dolphins lost to Baltimore, Buffalo, and then the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, it doesn't mean he can't win those games. It just means he hasn't proven that he can yet. All of this means, very simply, the Miami Dolphins cannot at this point pay Tua like he's some sort of franchise quarterback because he has not proven as of yet that he is a franchise quarterback. I know a lot of Miami Dolphins fans, especially those on Twitter, the nuts to and on, think that you just got to give him the bag. He's earned it. They're looking at stats. Those are stat junkies. He has not been able to put this team on his back as of yet. Save the money. Hopefully maybe invest in another quarterback that's cheap in the draft. Get some offensive line. Maybe get Derrick Henry. But until Tua Tagovailoa proves without a doubt that he is that guy, that he can be a franchise quarterback, you can't possibly mortgage this team and spend $45 or $50 million on a quarterback who's completely unproven. I'm sure you may have some comments to make. Let me hear them. Love to hear what you guys have to say, but a lot of this stuff that Dave Hyde wrote isn't even debatable. Talk to you soon. Fins up.